What is going on, my man? Thank you for listening to another episode of the Becoming Kings podcast. I couldn't be more excited and just privileged to have Cary Jack in the virtual studio. What's up, dude? All the way from, well, you're from Montana, but you're down in Florida at the moment, right?
That's right, man.
Living the dream.
Working on my tan.
Working on your tan, building sandcastles, not doing anything other than just chilling. No, you're what I love about you is that you are and I think we all define success in different ways, right? But you've been very successful up until this point, but it's not been an easy road from what I've gathered from speaking to you directly and reading your content and following along and all that good stuff. And it's just been interesting to see that, a lot of us, I think the guys that are listening are on that same journey, which is like, I've done all these things. We thought that it would pan out to be, lead to greater happiness or fulfillment. And you've kind of made this whole brand out of your happy hustle, which is pretty awesome. But if you don't mind, maybe I could certainly read your bio just about being a lifestyle entrepreneur, but tell a little bit more, just listening to from the horse's mouth, just more of your backstory, if you don't mind, so the guys know who you are and what you're up to.
Yeah. Well, thanks, John. I appreciate you, brother, and feel honored to be here and rock the mic with you. And
absolutely.
For me, I think what really you mentioned success, and I just think that's such a loaded word. I just would kick things off with, asking all the guys out there and girls listening, like, what does success actually mean to you? I think putting like a definition around it, for you is like, it seems so trivial and simple, but at the end of the day, a lot of people don't do it,
Totally.
And for me, kind of getting into my backstory a little bit, I thought success was, obviously just financial abundance and ego and status and having the big company and all the things that like society deems important in many regards, right? And so I worked towards those things. Like I grew up, half in Sarasota, Florida, surfing and skating, and half in Red Lodge, Montana, on my father's ranch, camping, fishing, hunting, hiking, so kind of like a hippie cowboy mix. But, it wasn't the easiest of childhood, but it definitely could have been a lot worse. I had plenty of, trauma, and I had plenty of love, and there was all sorts of things in between, but I was always an entrepreneur. I always felt like I just wanted to carve my own path. My dad, owned a busy mechanic and repair shop, automotive business. And then my mom was a chiropractor, and she had her own, thriving practice. So I saw entrepreneurship. That's what I knew. And I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. So I've launched a couple companies, failed with the couple companies, fast forward to launching illegal companies, past that, and doing things the wrong way and getting in trouble. At one point I was hustling, without integrity, the wrong way, and I actually got in trouble, went to jail, flipped the script and I was like, I'm never doing this again. This was I got to make better choices. So fortunately, I righted my wrongs and made a pivot. And I did launch this tech startup in New York City that was really taken off. And we had a lot of great success. My brother, business partner, and best friend, which is all the same person, his name's Grant. We had this tech startup, and we were quantifying feedback. We built this algorithm. It had a lot of applications across different industries. We were soliciting VC funding and big partnerships. We ended up getting, 7-figure VC funding deal, partnerships with Microsoft and IBM on the table, and a bunch of other things. And I just realized how unfulfilled and unhappy I was, man. I was like working like a dog, 100+ hour weeks, grinding my face off, all for that profit, that success, that ego, status, etc.
Yep.
So I realized, okay, if we go forward in this business, it's a 5-year exit plan, probably keeping up the same workflow and, all the things that I have to do right now to keep this business afloat and grow it. And I was just like, I don't want to do this. I'm so unfulfilled, so unhappy with my reality. So after a tear-filled conversation with my brother, you know, we were at the time we're sharing a king-size bed in
That's sweet.
an apartment in dumpy New York City, Queens. Dude, it was, yeah. Yeah, it was funny. But anyway, we ended up folding the company, moved to Bangkok, Thailand. I did.
Crazy.
For about a year. I was like, you know what? I want to just find happiness and like create my own version of this success thing. And so I started to really put the happy in my everyday hustle. And that's where the happy hustle was born, what I'm doing now. You know, fast forward, I really do like feel so passionate about what I'm doing, helping other high-performing entrepreneurs solve the problem of imbalance, you know, really helping them put the happy in their everyday hustle, both personally and professionally. And yeah, the rest is history, as they say.
Well, I've done other podcasts, whether it be with other guests or even by myself. And, you know, I'm a big lover and supporter of Tony Robbins. And I think when I started to really look at my life at 29, 30 years old, I realized that of his 6 human needs, that significance was one of my top needs. And to your point, it was all about like, I'm doing all these things. I'm hustling, I'm grinding, quote unquote. I'm burning the midnight oil and kind of running myself into the ground at a young age. For what reason other than because I'm insecure and I want to look like or find some way from the outside in to validate that I'm of worth, right? And would you say that's a big part of, you know, I think we all have our different ways of doing it, but I do feel like, especially in today's day and age with social media and being online and everyone having to show that they're quote unquote happy, and so many of us aren't happy, right?
Yeah.
So what was that? Was that the defining moment though, when you folded the business in New York and you like that started to really shift things and change your trajectory on your life, or was there something even more momentous that really moved things?
Yeah, I think looking back, you know, it's always easier looking back, right?
Yeah.
That was definitely a defining moment. You know, there was also like a defining moment of like when I was younger and again, doing things the wrong way. I had a defining moment in that capacity too, where I was like, you know, changed my ways. But I think in that moment when I folded the tech startup and really decided, you know, let's live this other life of happiness and joy at the forefront. Like that, I think it's scary. Yes, first and foremost, like everyone out there who is settling for a reality that's less than ideal. I know it's scary on the other side to like think of the unknown, but you know, for me, that was also like exhilarating. It really was the pivotal moment of, okay, let's go all in on something that is unpredictable, that is unsure, and you know, and just kind of evolve and flow more too, because I think a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of high performers, we force it, you know, and we really think like the grind is going to get us there. But oftentimes, you know, it gets you somewhere, but it might not be where you want to go.
Yeah, I think it adds into abuse of some kind, whether it be the abuse of ourselves, the abuse of this beautiful gift that we have of time, right? Or it leads to substance abuse or addictions or abuses of other people. It's like that's where all those pretty nasty and quote unquote toxic coping mechanisms I feel like are birthed out of, is where we're not happy, but we're not really taking responsibility, you know, radical ownership of it. We just keep looking for other means to put a Band-Aid on it, you know, or fill that void, you know. So I digress, but your story of, you know, sharing a bed with your brother reminds me of, obviously I was probably much younger, but I used to be with my older brother, and we'd, you know, when we're traveling as a family, and we'd be in bed and he'd be spelling things on my back, and they'd be like, did you say, you know, like Transformers? I was like, yes, we got it. But all those moments of sharing a bed with my bros.
My brother's like snores like a train too, which is rough.
Yeah, mine too, which is why I think I don't snore, because it's like I can't do this to any other brothers I have or spouses.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, that's huge. Going back to the happy hustle, the brand, the birthing of it, like you said, that was kind of the birthing of it. How, if you don't mind, kind of dive into that a little bit more about, just the understanding behind the book here. I don't know if it's blurring out, it probably is, but the Happy Hustle book that I've got, the 10 alignments to avoid burnout and achieve blissful balance of your book here. What is kind of the foundation or the whole purpose of the Happy Hustler?
Yeah. Well, for me,
and how to become one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's important too, right? Because we could just talk about it in theory all day long, like a lot of podcasts do, but I like to take it a step further, and I know you do, where you actually give the people actionable,
get into it.
Tips, tools, and tactics. So for me, I was just scratching my own itch first and foremost. Like, okay, I'm super out of balance. I'm super unhappy. How do I get back to like homeostasis and thrive? So I looked at my life. I was like, okay, there's different areas of life, right? It's all under one life, sure, but there's different areas of it. And so I just kind of broke it down, and I was like, I just need to take stock in like where I'm really lacking. And so I think in order to grow in any capacity, you need to know, like, an assessment is first and foremost. So I just did an assessment, an audit, on where I'm lacking in my life.
Love that.
And I broke it down into these 10 different areas. So I was like, all right, there's my like selfless service is one, like volunteering, giving back. I'm always happier when I do that, right? Okay. Oh, my health, my making sure that I'm physically and mentally and emotionally strong and healthy, right? My my family life, like my love and relationships, right? So it's like I went into these different areas before it was like the framework that it is today, the soul mapping framework, which we can get into if you'd like. But totally. This is kind of how I started it, right? And I was like, I just need to, start this for myself. And I scratched my own itch by identifying where I was lacking, and then I prioritized, changed accordingly. And I was like, oh, damn, this actually like kind of just changed everything. Like, wow, I know what I'm doing in the day. I know why I'm doing it. And then it started to kind of like catch fire a little bit with like my inner circle, my friends, my other fellow entrepreneurs. And they were just like asking me, oh, what are you doing, Cary? Well, like, how's this thing worked? I know you really made a shift, like you seem a lot different, So I just kind of started to share it. Then I started to write about it. Then I did a course about it. Now I host a podcast about it. I do events about it. And it just kind of like birthed into this, what it is today. Fast forward again, we have like this framework that is actually like a replicable framework that you can systematically improve your happiness, both personally and professionally, if you follow. And so that's what the book is. That's what, the podcast and the courses and all the things are all designed to really help people put the happy in their everyday hustle with a system, with the strategy behind it.
So it's not obviously, or maybe not as obviously, but it's not only about achieving to-dos. It's also making sure that you're achieving fulfillment. Like you said, you start off with saying service, right? Selfless service.
Exactly. Yeah. I think we all get really caught up in our to-do lists, especially high performers, right? But it's, it's different to just achieve tasks versus like have tasks that actually give you energy and joy and meaning behind it. So that's kind of a really big component. You mentioned the Tony Robbins, right? Like the secret to living is giving, as they say, right? So it's like you gotta look at that as a component of your life. But if all you're doing is giving, you're not going to be happy hustling, Totally, so it's like, again, it's the balance between these different areas. And that's what, I talk about.
Well, a big part of what I also talk about, and I think that's why I was attracted to your stuff, is just like, first and foremost, I agree. It's like, I tell guys that I work with, like, you got to take an audit. What's working for you? What's not, right? You got to look at where you can trim the fat. What's the 20% that makes all the 80% of the difference in terms of your fulfillment, right? Looking at to Tony Robbins, the science of achievement, the art of fulfillment, right? And then really defining, okay, you got to have both sides of that same coin, and what's truly important to you. And I think that the soul mapping process, which I definitely want to get into, is a brilliant approach so that you can stay on target and stay focused. Because I think that's probably the biggest thing that in our day and age, especially guys our ages, 30s, 40s, 50s, are struggling with, is that every device, everything in our world is, competing for our attention, right?
Yeah.
Marketing in that sense. And if you're not really diligent and intentional with it, you're fucked, day after day after day. And I'm speaking from experience. Like I struggle some days and I get into a rut and then I'm like, I got to go back to my process. I got to go back to being clear about it. Right. So, and I think if you don't have something like that, then to your point, like, you'll be lost and you can find yourself just spinning your wheels in life as a man and wondering, like, why am I even here? It begs the question, right?
Yep.
So I love that. But I would love to jump into it if you're open to it, the actual, soul mapping process, however you want to kind of dig into it. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I'm definitely down. And, I would challenge everyone out there listening to not just be a passive, like listener in this. Yeah, but more so an active participant. And what I think would be pretty cool too, Johnny, if you're down, I'll actually put you through the assessment if you're feeling brave, and we can kind of see where you're at in these different alignments. And we can kind of just do it live. So the soul mapping system is made up of the 10 alignments. Okay. It's your soul's map to the blissfully balanced promised land. Right. So these are the 10 different areas I want you to measure yourself in. And the rubric is 1 to 5. Okay. 5 is like an A, you're crushing it, right? You're happy hustling in this area. 1 is like an F, you're failing, right? Like, again, wasn't much for school, but I do know the grading scale. So there you go. Just kind of equate where you're at to these, different 10 alignments as we go through them step by step. Right. And I want you to just think about for the last 30 days. Okay, Johnny. So like, not for like your whole life, but like just the last 30 days. So whenever, this is for you, just think about your last 30 days and give yourself a score 1 to 5 in each of these 10 different areas. And then I want you to actually write it down. So if you're driving right now or, on the treadmill or whatever, like obviously, don't fall off the treadmill and don't get into a wreck, but take a note on your phone, because this is really important to keep track of where you're at. And it'll make sense later because we're going to actually total all these scores up. Okay. So the first 10 alignment. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to ask you, will you give a little bit of a snippet as to just a definition of each one? Or are you just going to say okay, cool.
No,
cool.
I'll give it.
That'll help.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. So the first of the 10 alignments is actually, I teased it, but it's selfless service, right? Okay. So the first of the alignments is selfless service. So this is, are you giving your time, your money, your expertise to causes and people that need it or that you believe in? Or are you living more for yourself, like in your own personal gain? Right. And just ask yourself, like, really those questions and kind of measure where you're at in selfless service right now, just based on the last 30 days. Are you 5? You're crushing it. You have a system where you're volunteering regularly. You're helping people. You're giving your time, your money, your expertise, or maybe not so much at all. Right. So 1 to 5, write it down. Okay.
Does that, if you don't mind me asking, like, obviously I do my men's work and my coaching and my books and stuff like that, my podcasts. Yeah, but that's related to a for-profit business, right? That's kind of still for me. Yeah, doesn't count, does it?
We'll get into that one. That one's impactful work. So we'll get into that one, Johnny. But yeah, that wouldn't count for this particular selfless service per se. You know what I mean? You could count it, but if you were being like 100 with yourself, you probably would say this would be more under business, right?
Yeah. Yep. Totally.
Yeah.
Okay.
So and again, this is just keeping it real with yourself, guys. Like Johnny and I are not the gurus here. We're just the reporters of what's working. And it's like these audits and assessments really do work. So like keep it real with yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay. So the S is selfless service. Then we get to the O, optimized health. Okay. Optimized health. Are you, working out every day, regularly moving the body, eating healthy, organic, whole foods? Or not so much? Are you shoving, crap down the pie hole and struggling to like have the energy that you desire and when you look at yourself in the mirror naked, are you actually less than stoked, or are you pretty proud? So it's like, rank where you're at. Like, again, this is all your own internal rubric, just using the 1 to 5 scale, but you know what a 5 looks like for you, right? In this area. You also know, what a F looks like. So give yourself a 1 to 5 ranking in this arena. Okay. Now you got the U. Unplugged digitally. Unplugged digitally is very difficult these days because we're all so hyper connected to our devices, but really, like, doing regular digital detoxes and putting barriers on your devices, and, not watching Netflix and streaming shows every single night or day, and not always being plugged in. This is required to perform at the highest level. You got to disconnect to reconnect, truly. So rank where you're at. Are you always connected? Are you always have your AirPods in, or, do you always have to have noise on, or are you, getting away from your devices and disconnecting? So rank where you're at, truly, and unplug digitally. 5 means you're crushing it, means you're mitigating your devices. 1 means you're failing. You're just completely addicted, right? Yeah. L stands for loving relationships. Okay. So L, loving relationships. Like, what's it all for? Johnny, if you don't have love in your life, right? You got to have that love. You got to, and I don't just mean with like your personal partner, right? Like that's a big component. Yes. Are you having plentiful pleasure, or is there angst and despair with your home life and your partner? But also, like, extended just a little bit further in the circle, right? Like, think about your immediate family and your relationships with your best friends. Like, think about like really all the love in your life, and give yourself an honest ranking. Like, could you be showing up better for them? Could you be pouring into those cups a little bit more? 1 to 5, just rank where you're at. 5 is you're crushing it, 1 is you're failing. So, Johnny, I think it'd be probably cool to just pause here and just go through your first 4 scores. If you're feeling courageous and don't mind sharing, we can kind of hear where you're at. And then I want, just to, just see in terms of where you're at.
Yeah. Selfless service. I actually gave myself a 1. I don't do, in the last 30 days, I haven't done anything. It's been very focused on business and everything else. Optimized health. I gave myself a 5. That's definitely one area that I totally dive into.
You're shredded.
I'm shredded. I definitely have the wounds from my childhood of my parents and my mom passing away, and my, that definitely motivates me in terms of what not to do. You unplug digitally. I gave myself a 3. I feel like I do well at times, and other times I don't, for sure. So loving relationships, I gave myself a 4. And I feel like that's an area that I just love people. I love relationships. So 1, 5, 3, 4 is where I'm at.
Awesome. Yeah. And I mean, again, like, this is just a benchmark, right? So you give yourself grace here. If y'all out there listening and going through this aren't super pumped about what you're seeing so far, give yourself a little grace. It's just a baseline. Now let's get into the Mappin part. So the M stands for mindful spirituality. Mindful spirituality, like, are you connecting to a higher power? Are you praying, meditating, doing breath work, doing something to get you out of your head and into your heart, right? And again, I don't care what you believe in. I just care that you believe in something bigger than yourself, because that's like, faith is a huge component of having happiness in your everyday hustle. It really is. And just rank where you're at, 1 to 5 in terms of M, mindful spirituality. Okay. Yeah. Love it. The A stands for abundance financially. Abundance financially, are you living paycheck to paycheck in fear of your finances, right? Or are you, able to save and invest and spend wisely and do what you want with who you want as much as you want, right? Like, rank where you're at in A, 1 to 5. P, personal development, right? I always say you're either growing and evolving, or you're shrinking and dissolving. Like, those are your options, right? So you have to measure where you're at, truly. Listening to podcasts like this is how you grow, right? This is how we all grow. But really give yourself an honest, ranking of where you're at right now in terms of personal development. And I always just a little happy hustle hack. And in my book, I actually go through and I give happy hustle hacks for each of these 10 alignments on how to raise your score. But I'll give one that I really like about this one in terms of personal development. I do just a 30-30-30 minute, I call it my personal growth system, but it's 30 minutes of just reading in the morning, something, inspirational and educational, 30 minutes of listening, something inspirational and educational in the afternoon, and then 30 minutes of watching something inspirational and educational in the evening. 90 minutes a day continues to help propel me forward and grow personally.
I love that.
And if that seems a little overwhelming, start with just 15, 15, 15, but that way, and I do it 5 days a week, I love to consume, but it's also, you do need time to implement. Like a lot of people are just only consuming. They're not actually putting in action the knowledge they acquire. So anyway, that's personal development. The second P is passionate hobbies. And this, my friend, passionate hobbies, I think a lot of high performers really lack because they don't do enough fun things that fill their own cup. They're like always focused on serving their community or their clients or their family or their friends, but they don't actually take care of self. And I think it's really important to infuse that childlike wonder, to do things that really spark your joy. For me, right when we get done with this call, I'm going with my wife for a little, evening date. And then nice. I have a soccer tournament that I'm playing with my brother-in-law. And then, like I'm going fishing this weekend. Like I did Krav Maga this week as well. Awesome. I have like things I schedule every single week to make sure like I'm going snowboarding when I get back. Like that's a part of my weekly routine because that's my time, and it's really important that you have your time to do stuff that's fun and that maybe even you have to pay for, it's like, you don't get ROI on this directly. I know high performers like really struggle at that sometimes.
Yeah.
But anyway,
100%. That's
passionate hobbies, rank where you're at in that one. And then impactful work. So going back to you and what you do, this is really like infusing your passion, which is, that like inward calling with your purpose, which is like that outward serving mission to actually make a positive impact. Like, are you doing that with what you do for work, what you make money for? Or are you settling? Are you doing something that you don't really like? Rank where you're at truly in terms of what you're doing for money right now. And, I just think it's very important. This one, oftentimes people think this is the most important one, but it's not. They're all equally important, but you just have to really take stock in where you're at in impactful work. And then N, bringing it home for the Mappin and nature connection. Nature connection, you and I both love nature, Johnny, and just getting outdoors, connecting with our beautiful Pachamama, Mother Earth, and just like actually protecting it. Like this is a huge thing that we all need to be a part of the solution. And, this is why I do my Montana Mastermind Epic Camping Adventures, like to just get people out of their, city lives and their inside, routines I take, high performing entrepreneurs into the backcountry Montana wilderness for 5 days. And we do a digital detox and it's a complete, business mastermind. We hike in 10 miles, we do fishing, survival, training, all sorts of cool stuff, but it's time in nature, like unplugged is so needed. And even if you just go for a walk 10 minutes a day, it can just change the game for you. Yeah, so, totally. And I do like to put in here, like you have to actually have, like contra consumerism at the forefront too. When it comes to buying things, like this is part of nature connection. Like, are you supporting companies that have ethical practices? I'll tell you, yesterday, I'm down here in Florida right now, and I volunteered with 4Ocean. We cleaned up almost 2,000 plus pounds of fishing nets from the ocean. Wow. I was in the mangroves cutting these fishing nets off all day. It was like a 14-hour day. And it's just unreal how much like garbage is in our society and our planet and in our oceans. And they're a B corporation. Everything that you buy through 4Ocean, shameless plug for them, they actually support pulling 1 pound of plastic and like there's companies like Patagonia, like that are doing the right thing. You know, there's companies like Ben and Jerry's even as a B corporation. So it's like voting with your dollar is a part of this nature connection. It's one I'm very passionate about. So rank where you're at in nature connection. So now you should have the last 6 scores, 10 total. And Johnny, let's hear where you're at in the mapping portion.
Going back to my mindful spirituality, I had written down M. So I gave myself a 4 on that. On abundance financially, I'd say 3. I think I can definitely I'm still working with the coach right now, spending, saving, investing. Definitely not, numbers are not necessarily my strong suit just yet. Working on that. Persistent personal development, I gave myself a 4. Passionate hobbies, I give myself a 4. Impactful work, I gave myself a 4. And then nature connection, I gave myself a 4.
Nice, man. I mean, and you know, Johnny's crushing it in many regards. But one thing that is noticeable here, Johnny, is which one you're lacking most, right?
Yeah.
And you mentioned selfless service. And I think this is a huge component to achieving that happy hustling, dream reality, right? Just giving back to others. So it's like, this is the power of just doing an audit on your current reality. And I want you guys, and Johnny, I want you to add up where you're at in each of these 10 scores. And if you're 37 or above, congrats, you're happy hustling. If you're 36 or below, well, unfortunately, we got some work to do. So Johnny, where'd you land? I think you're
right at 36.
Real close. Yep.
Yep.
So you're close. You're right on the precipice of happy hustling, but we got to get that selfless service up. And I tell you, I volunteer with my Rotary Club. I do something with the adaptive horsemanship training at Eagle Mount with kids with special needs, helping them ride horses. I volunteer, I give money every single month to the Sea Shepherd and to Kiva, this organization that's supporting like social entrepreneurs with micro loans in third world countries, like little things like that. Just like fill my cup. I know they're humming in the background. I just know it's a part of my weekly routines, so it's like, that's kind of where I think maybe could help. Just like think about the causes you really want to serve, Johnny, and everyone out there, and just start to help. I'm actually launching the Happy Hustle Foundation next year, and
sweet.
we're solving many problems, but one in particular, this problem of empowering the Native American people with entrepreneurship. And I really want to share our frameworks and really support this mission because really I just hate what we've done to the natives. And and I have a lot of Native friends in Montana. There's a lot of tribes, and it's just a damn shame. And I really feel really called to help that. So it's like, you got to find something that really speaks to you for your own. Yeah, exactly. So, but anyway, I really hope everyone out there actually did this assessment. If you didn't, and you really wanted, like, kind of just do it quickly, it takes less than 2 minutes. I have it for free. You can just go to thehappyhustle.com and you could take the quick assessment, and then you can get like emailed your scores, but this is something I take my own medicine every single week. On a Sunday, I'll do this assessment. And I actually take it a step further. I sent you a blissful balancer, right, Johnny? The magnet.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
So this is something that can take this actual framework, and I write about in the book, but this is like an analog whiteboard fridge magnet. It just goes on your refrigerator, and it helps you actually implement different action tasks, one for each of the 10 alignments every single day. So for example, selfless service, did you give 15 minutes of time, money, or expertise? Like maybe not money, but like, because that doesn't fit as well, but time or expertise today. It's either binary. Did you do it? Yes or no. And this like blissful balancer, I call it goes on your fridge, and it helps you track your balance in real time. And this is what I do with all the people in the Happy Hustle Club, and beyond, because it's really hard to measure balance per se. It's like, it's not a finite destination. Sometimes there'll be sprint seasons. You know, there's like, oh, I got to get after it this month. I know I got my book launch, right? It's like, there's sprint season, but like, if you can look at your blissful balancer and you know where you're at and where you stand in each of these 10 alignments, that's how you can implement what we're talking about here today. And yeah, I just think it's really important to mention one other thing, Johnny, in terms of like happy hustling. I realize there's like one overarching principle for everything. And it is this: you must give equal importance to each of these 10 different areas, these 10 different alignments, but you must focus on one at a time, right? So you must give equal importance to each of these 10 different alignments, but you must focus on one at a time. You know, when I'm with Johnny rocking the mic right here for my impactful work, sharing my message, I'm all here. I'm not thinking about anything else, right? But I think the problem with a lot of people is, you know, when they're at work, they're thinking about their family. When they're, you know, with their family, they're thinking about work, you know, they're not doing either effectively, you know? So it's like, you got to just be present in the moment. Like when you're volunteering, when you're working out, when you're doing your digital detox, like do it all in 110%, as my dad likes to say. So anyway, that's my soapbox for today.
No, I think it's brilliant though, because it's awesome. I love it. And thank you for that, because I think it's really helpful, and it helps me obviously say, okay, cool. There's a clear and obvious. I like that word. Clearest. There is a clear and obvious gap, a void in one of my areas. And for guys listening, there could be multiple gaps, right? I think it's just good to be able to always audit. And I think things don't really begin to change until we get serious. We either step on the scale, we, you know, log into our bank account or our credit card account. We, you know, ask our spouse, like, rate me. How much do you feel like I'm stepping up, or you're feeling loved and respected and seen by me, whatever. The audits or the self, you know, the what do you call it? The personality profile assessments, like all those type of things, I think are really powerful to take a real clear snapshot, at least in the moment, of like, how am I doing? You know, like, and I think that was good that you defined that in the last 30 days. I've had seasons where I've done selfless service, and and I think that's a good example of like, we'll be doing stuff, but you have to keep checking in, because we just kind of sometimes fade away from certain things and even forget to notice, you know what I mean? So I used to work with a lot of women, and they would be so much focusing on helping other people, kind of like my mom was, that they're not taking care of themselves, and that's why they're 70 pounds overweight, you know? Yep. And so it's then sometimes when you get deep in the hole, it's tough to dig your way out of it. So that's huge. The Happy Hustle book here that you've got on the Happy Hustle. What's the website? The happyhustlebook.com. Yep. Right. It's the place that guys can go and check out the book. Yeah. And, you know, what I want to do just specifically for, you know, anyone listening right now, your tribe, you know, the kings out there. I know my time is my most valuable commodity, truly. And as you know, Johnny, I'm sure knows as well. And I don't do like one-on-one coaching. That's it's not my thing. I used to run a biohacking company, and that was my thing. And I just, you know, you run out of time to sell, and it's just, you know, it's just not, it's not scalable. And, but for the kings out there who actually do want to, like, you know, get the book and read it and DM me their number one takeaway, my assistant will send you my Calendly link for a 20-minute one-on-one, and I will literally help you happy hustle wherever you're lacking. We can do a quick audit, and I'll help you however I can. Like, zero ulterior motive here, but just to help you. So anyone who really wants to take this a step further, and it feels called, the book's free, by the way, too. You just help out with the shipping and handling, and we send it right to you. We're doing the second edition pretty soon in Q2 of 2023, and it's not going to be free anymore. So now's a great time to get it. If you do want to read it, you DM me on Instagram, Cary__Jack, just your number one takeaway. My assistant will go in there and send you a Calendly link. So anyway, that's just something I want to do for you guys. That's awesome. That's really generous. And it's I'll put that link into the show notes of this. Awesome. And you mentioned too, just the Montana Mastermind. I know, and just in wrapping things up real quick, tell a little bit more about it, because that's so cool. And I think so many of the guys that are listening, either they've come to one of mine, or we've met through a different buddies, type of outdoor adventure or men's retreat. Tell a little bit more about your epic camping adventure.
Yeah, well, I mean, I didn't plan on doing this. It was more like I just had a lot of guys and high level entrepreneurs like kept hitting me up with my bros. I was like, hey, they're like, Cary, I just want to come camping and fishing and hunting and hiking with you, man. I'm like, all right, listen, guys, there's just too many to do one-offs, let's do like a trip. So I just like put it together and it was like, damn, this is awesome. And everyone got like, just had a blast and just kept doing them. So now it's kind of evolved. We do them like once a quarter, typically. And yeah, it's 15 high performing male entrepreneurs, all making over 6 figures, heart centered, who passed the beer test, which is the most important test, meaning I actually have to want to get a beer with you in order for you to come. Vibes are really important, especially in the wilderness. I don't want any like liabilities. So yeah, you got to be able to hike 10 plus miles with the 40-50 pound pack on your back. Like we have a whole application for it, but we hike in 3,000 plus foot elevation typically. And we go to a beautiful alpine lake. I switch up the trails every time to keep it fun, but this is grizzly country, mountain lions, moose, wolves. It's the real deal in Montana. And we go out there. I bring a professional survivalist. He's a U.S. Marine and buddy of mine. He teaches everyone how to, snare small game and shoot bow and arrows and purify water, build shelter, make fire, stuff like that. We teach everyone how to fly fish, and everyone who comes gets their own fly rod reel combo to keep. And then, I bring a professional backcountry chef who cooks for, Tom Brady and Will Ferrell and all these big dogs out at the Yellowstone Club here in Montana. And, we pack in my buddy, my cowboy buddy, one-eyed cowboy, Duncan, he packs us in 5 horses with a bunch of gear, and we hang out in the woods for 5 days. We do breath work and meditation and, all the fun stuff, cold plunges and journaling. And, it's structured yet flexible, plenty of downtime, but it's just a really great way to disconnect. You still, obviously we're all, high performers. We're talking about business, we're having fun, but there's a lot of fun, but that's something, that we do. I know Johnny's going to come on one this upcoming summer. Can't wait to have you, brother. So yeah, if anyone is, curious and wants to apply, you can go to caryjack.com /Montana and just reference Johnny and where you heard about it. And we'll get you a hookup too on it. So
that's amazing.
But yeah, that's
part of it. But you also included me the other day in your Happy Hustle Club. Is that part of the same mastermind? Is that part of the same guys, or is that separate?
Yeah.
That was like a Zoom mastermind. You brought in an expert and that sort of thing to talk about different business stuff.
Yeah. So that's kind of like the continuation of it. They can both be a la carte or combined. Typically, a lot of the guys who go on these, epic camping adventures,
want to stay in touch, right?
Yeah, they want to keep in touch. So that's kind of like
buddies.
the bi-weekly calls. We do, again, like we have a flow to it. We bring in a guest guru every month, and it's part of the Montana Mastermind Epic Camping Adventures, but it's also a standalone, like it's called the Happy Hustle Club. And it's just something that, again, meeting once a quarter on a trip isn't really like enough for a lot of people to keep up the happy hustling habits. And so that's kind of what we have put together as a standalone, but also complementary.
I think it's awesome because no different than being in the gym and, working out with guys that are either going to push you or stronger than you or whatever. I think it's no different than having that tribe to push each other in all 10 areas of your, soul mapping an area, your life, right? And having the guys that you respect and you want to hang with and will keep your feet to the fire to some extent, right?
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, we have cash accountability in the club. So, everyone's got money at stake every meeting. And if they did what they say they're going to do, they get their money back and they get to split the pot earnings. If they don't, then they owe the pot money. So it's a fun way to keep everyone accountable.
That's sweet. That's really, really sweet. Dude, well, thank you so much for being on. We could definitely keep talking. I'll have to have you on again and keep digging in deeper and deeper, because I think we could get into some serious stuff in terms of just yeah, scalability, entrepreneurship, marketing, so many things that you're really, really good at, that you've invested probably tons of time and money into, that you make look easy now, but it doesn't always come to everyone easy. So we'd love to have you on again. We can dig into other stuff, but this has been a huge, huge blessing and privilege to have you on. So thank you, dude, for being here.
Johnny, thank you, brother. Yeah, and want to have you on my podcast, the Happy Hustle Podcast, soon too. So
That'd be fun.
We'll rock the mic and share you with the Happy Hustlers as well, because I appreciate you and everything you're up to, man, and how you show up in the world. So
yeah.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you, man.
Absolutely. I'll put guys that are listening, or watching on YouTube, I should say, I'll put even some of your links to your website, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, just so you can connect with you, Cary, on one of preferred platforms, right? And then, guys, I would really, really highly recommend going out and grabbing the book, and reading through it, and setting yourself up that 20-minute call with Cary. It's like, how valuable is it to be able to have some time, which is our most, precious asset of yours, that you're offering to give away to really support the guys, which is really, really cool. So can't thank you enough. So, dude, thank you for being on. Appreciate you.
Yeah, appreciate you guys, and appreciate everyone watching and listening too. I mean,
absolutely.
That's what it's all about. We do it, to add as much value to you. So peace and love, everyone.
Yeah, exactly. Bella, thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Becoming Kings podcast. Definitely go give Cary a follow, check out his website, buy his book, all the good things, and we'll catch up with you on another episode. We'll talk soon. Cheers.